Hello, everybody, and welcome back to 3WC, where for the third year in a row, South Korea faces off against the United States in the winners bracket finals. South Korea, two-time defending champions. The United States looking to drop them down to the losers bracket. I'm myFlame, joined today by the one and only Dio. Talk to me about this matchup.
It's going to be a good one. USA and South Korea, they have played each other Lord knows how many times in three-digit World Cup. They've played each other in the four-digit World Cup, and very recently, of course, the last 3 years in a row in the OS World Cup in grand finals as well. And these two teams in the three-digit World Cup here, they're pretty similar to the OWC teams, but you are missing some of the heavy hitters. You compare South Korea's roster to OWC from this year, and missing Flying Tuna, missing worst HR player, and missing Hyuk as well. But Fragrance of Page, Amamiya Kokoro, Doomsday Fanboy, Allegrisimo, those four players also on the OWC roster for this team, joined here by Restia, who has played OWC with South Korea before, and Parisia, who was also on, I believe, South Korea's 2022 and, if memory serves, 2023 team. Yes, both of those teams. For the United States, they have a pretty similar situation here. Missing Rectigon, missing Window Life, missing Decaton, missing Kama, missing Utami. But Takedo, Bashiman, Pez from their OWC team this year on the roster here as well, along with Ethan Tricks, Caleb, and Flamestare. Caleb, bracket C bracket, now known as 80 Nuggets. One of the players who's been popping off a lot in this tournament, alongside Takedo and Pez in particular. And these players are also very, very skilled. Flamestare winning the four-digit World Cup for the United States last year. Ethan Tricks, I believe, also actually not winning the four-digit World Cup. Was not on that team for USA last year, but an OWC playtester and somebody who I think a lot of people are looking at as one of the better players on this team as well. The big difference in these rosters as compared to OWC is the way that they have specialized. South Korea has decided to have three players who just gap everyone on alt, tech, reading, aim, that kind of stuff, with Amamiya Kokoro, Allegrisimo, and Fragrance of Page. And then reserve three players entirely just for speed, Restia, Doomsday Fanboy, and Parisia, whereas the United States, lots of players who can play everything really well, but who don't specialize in one particular thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, historically, South Korea has gotten the better of this matchup. 7-5 in 2023, 7-6 in 2024, so it has been an incredibly close one, but we've got some bans coming out. Hard Rock 1, first ban for the US. They don't want to play that just raw aim map is probably the trickiest map in the pool. And I mean, you mentioned those three players for South Korea. Fragrance of Page has been statistically the second best player in this tournament, only behind Curler. And so those three players have been working incredibly well for them so far. They had 6 top scores last week. It was a dominant performance. But the US, as you mentioned, a much more rounded roster. They have a lot more flexibility in their choices. Now, South Korea are going to ban out that hidden one. That is going to be a consistency map, you could call it. It's got a good mix of a variety of skill sets, but the US have looked incredibly good on the hiddens, getting the top scores on Hidden 1 and Hidden 2 last week. So that ban makes a lot of sense. Then the Hidden 3, they don't want to play reading against Ethantrix and Takedo. Makes a lot of sense as well. And second ban for the US, I think you probably want to ban out one of these aim control heavy picks. There's a lot of them in this pool. DT4 is going to be the aim control alt DT map, and now we get into pick bans. What's so fascinating about this match to me, Dio, is that both these teams so far in this tournament have shown that they can play absolutely everything to a high level. South Korea last week, they put up good scores on low tech, alt, reading, precision, speed maps. And the US, similarly, those alt same maps plus slider aim on top of that. So pick a map in the pool. Both these teams can play it to a high level. They're going to put up top team scores tournament wide. And here it's going to be United States with the first pick.
I mean, I think when you look at the signups for this tournament, there was just never really any doubt that these two teams would be the top two in the tournament, right? You look at the way that they have won their matches. It was 7-1 last week for South Korea versus Poland, 7-4 for the USA, but they were against Germany, who was, I think in many people's minds, the other team that is really, really strong in this tournament. 6-0 for South Korea versus the UK, 6-1 for the US versus Philippines. Both those teams still in the tournament this weekend, both making top 6. And then, of course, the early stages, 6-0, 6-1 again. And yeah, it's just been a very one-sided affair for both these teams up to this point, which always makes you wonder whether that is going to continue to be the case. It looks like we are going to get the Fremod 2 first pick for the United States here. It's going to be, that's Nomad 2. I think they did correct the Fremod 2 there, so we may be getting that changed here in just a second. Not the Nomad 2 for the United States, but the Fremod 2 instead. And there we are. Into Phony by Sumiki, mapped by Ryusei Aika. This is, it's alt tech. It's 170 BPM alt tech with some super long sliders. Now, most of these sliders are cheesable in this map, but they still do present a slider follow difficulty as well as kind of a slider and act difficulty, as well as a reading difficulty. A lot of overlapping patterns underneath the sliders in this map that can make dealing with them and reading correctly very tricky if you're not well practiced on this map. And so I think the practice factor going to be a major determiner for both these teams. We do see Boshiman in here for the United States. Boshiman hasn't played a lot in this tournament. I believe played, you said, one map in quarterfinals, didn't play last weekend. So hasn't been around for a ton of this tournament. But when push comes to shove, having Boshiman around is always going to help the United States here. Very, very solid gimmick player, very solid precision and reading player, and that adds a lot to the threat that the United States poses on a lot of these gimmick picks that are usually South Korea's wheelhouse.
Yeah, and this map has two very distinct sections. You have the first half of the map, which has a lot of incredibly awkward patterns that are absolutely brutal on hidden, whereas those fast sliders that you mentioned are brutal on hard rock. So you kind of expect to see the hidden players struggle early on, but recover into that second half a slider section as the hard rock players are going to start to struggle. I have to imagine that third player, Zyson, is actually Allegrissimo. I'm just going to assume here, because that is a more recent name change, but it is going to be Boshi Hard Rock, Ethan Tricks on the hidden, and Fragrance hidden, as well as Allegrissimo on the Hard Rock standard mods from both teams. And this is not an easy map. It is really nice, I think, to have one of your top players on on the Nomad, looking at Kokoro for South Korea, and I think Nomad players can have a significantly easier time on this one. And so this is the kind of map where you can expect your Nomad players to put up a big carry performance. We do see an early miss from Allegrissimo. Oh, it is Restia.
From, Restia, apparently, is Zysen Udongan. But, yeah, a couple of early misses here for Restia on the hard rock there, but everybody else holding so far. Amamiya Kokoro, Fragrance Page on the hidden, Ethan Tricks on the hidden, Boshi on the hard rock, Pez on the Nomad, all still holding those FCs, but there goes Ethan on one of those long sliders on the hidden for the United States. So traded combos are now matched for both of these teams. Slight combo lead for South Korea now gone as Fragrance Page misses on that first long slider into this first Ki time. Pez and Boshiman still holding on the Nomad and the hard rock for the United States, but Amamiya Kokoro still has that Nomad FC at 99%, still keeping the window of opportunity open for a comeback for South Korea on this first pick from the United States. And this is what makes these picks, even as a first pick for the United States, where you feel really comfortable, still a little sketchy, because you know South Korea is going to have a good roster for this sort of a map. And they're showing it here. Still got the 1 FC, still got a solid score on Fragrance Page, still got good recovery combo on Restia here as well.
Yeah, but Boshi got through that slider section on the hard rock, probably one of the harder parts of the map, and it looks like Restia survived it as well. So, as you mentioned, South Korea ready to capitalize on any mistake from the United States, but only a third of the map to go. United States have an 8,000 point lead. It's far from a comfortable lead. That's a big miss from Restia and Kokoro drop. It's pretty much all the big combos down for South Korea, and the United States are just going to run away with this one. None of them have found a miss. Pez finally drops, but it doesn't matter. The score lead immediately doubled, and US looking incredibly strong to take their first point.
Yeah, it was looking pretty doable for South Korea as a potential breakpoint until that happened. The United States had the lead all map long with those early breaks from Restia, but those breaks there from Amamiya Kokoro and Restia at the same time really solidified it. And Bashiman still going now, the only full combo in the lobby on this Hard Rock. 95% be damned. The yak doesn't really matter too much on this map when you have the combo, but everyone misses there except for Pez and Amamiya Kokoro on that long slider stream. And that means this score lead ain't going anywhere anytime soon. 370k in favor of the US. Yeah, there will be a miss from Pez. Yeah, a little bit will go back to South Korea here with this ending combo from Amamiya Kokoro, but never enough to matter with the kind of score lead they have and the kind of combo on South Korea at the moment. Solid first pick from the United States, and this is very different from, I think, what a lot of people typically expect in a matchup between these two countries. You expect South Korea to be picking a lot of the tech, a lot of the gimmick, a lot of the alt flow kind of stuff, maybe some reading maps, and the United States to be picking more into the mechanic side of things. But United States upending that here with this first pick, saying we are better at these alt tech gimmick maps in the pool, and you need to watch yourself when you pick these kind of things into us.
Yeah, strangely enough, United States all tournament long have been incredibly dominant on any slider aim map, which tends to be a pretty niche skill set to be very good at. But United States show why they are the best the best team in this tournament on these slider aim picks, and goes to show, right? Boshti, a player that hasn't been here very often for the US, but a player that is so crucial to have, putting up an impressive score on the Hard Rock. And there are a lot of very, very tricky maps in this pool. A lot of maps that a single player putting up a big combo on can absolutely solo carry. We wait for the next pick for South Korea, and we do expect them to pick into flow aim, into aim control, but into tech as well. It feels like they have a lot of options, and at the same time, they don't have necessarily any one map that stands out as a must pick for South Korea. It's more like they have 7 or 8 maps that I feel like, yeah, South Korea is probably slightly advantaged on this, but no map in this match is going to be a guarantee for either team. I think generally we're going to be looking at things like the Nomad 3, of course the Nomad 4, and then I think you're going to want to avoid the hidden pool. You have Hard Rock 2 alts, and okay, we have to pick. It is going to be that Nomad 4. They're going straight into tech, and scary thing is South Korea, best team on the tech map last week, US not far behind at number 2, so every map here going to be competitive.
Yeah, this map, if I remember right, having watched the showcase right before this match, honestly pretty straightforward. It's just a basic tech map. Not a lot to say about this one, where if you have played a lot of modern tech maps, you're probably going to know what you're getting yourself into on this map. It is a custom here, mapped by Rentai and Chess. So big ups to Rentai and Chess for the custom here. Yeah, nothing else to say here. And I think we're going to get a lot of similar faces in for both of these teams, going from one slider map into another here. Amamiya Kokoro staying in, but this time Taquito and 80 Nuggets coming in for the United States. Fragrance of Page joining in for South Korea. Maybe Restia again, but probably Allegrissimo as the last player for South Korea here on the Nomad 4. And maybe not Bashiman, but maybe an Ethan Trix or a Pez as the last join here for the United States.
Yeah, so far they've largely been playing Pez on the tech picks. Flamesteer also an option, but I think Pez more likely on this one. The one thing I would say about this map is that it's slightly more heavy on the aim control in the first half of the map, a little bit more heavy on the slider tech into the second half of the map, so a little bit of difference to watch out for there, but that just tends to be pretty common with modern tech maps. And again, both teams have incredibly strong rosters for this kind of map. South Korea, certainly I would give them a slight edge on this one, but it's far from a guarantee. And this is the kind of matchup where we could see breakpoints very, very early on. There's no guaranteed picks for either team, and this is a very tricky map, so you don't really expect to see any massive combos. If you do see a massive combo from any player, it's going to be enough to win the map, almost certainly.
And iFlame, there's actually something I need to correct you about with regard to the
Oh.
statistics from last week. South Korea was not #1 on Nomad Tech last week. It was the United States who were ahead of them by
It was
71K.
Yep.
Yeah, that Nomad 4 last weekend was the United States ahead of them by 70K. So
I think last week was, oh yeah, it was. Nomad 2 was the tech map last week.
Well, it was a flow map. It was that weird like super gimmicky stream map from last week. But Nomad 4 was the slider tech map in the Nomad pool. So it's a little bit of both. And regardless of the semantics and the differences between the two of them, both these teams were #1 and #2 on both of those maps.
Yeah.
So both of them are going to be really strong on this kind of pick as well. As we get a couple of early breaks here. Allegrisimo, 80 Nuggets, Taquito Pez, all breaking early on. Allegrisimo, 80 Nuggets, and now Fragrance of Page also breaking during this PI time. It's Taquito and Pez to hold for the United States, but on recovery combo, having broken a little bit earlier on. Amamiya Kokoro, the only one on the FC on either team so far, a third of the way in.
Yeah, it's a decently long map, so the United States certainly have plenty of time to make a comeback. Taquito and Pez are going to be able to prevent Amamiya Kokoro from really pushing this score lead, and it's all about holding on to those supporting combos. The United States, of course, would be incredibly happy to trade either of those combos for Amamiya Kokoro, but as long as Amamiya Kokoro holds, the United States aren't going to have much of a chance to come back, and that's a big miss from Amamiya Kokoro. Allegrisimo as well. The United States are going to flip this score lead, and it's a slightly easier section, but this is a very difficult section coming up afterwards, so the question is how long can Taquito and Pez hold on to these combos? If they can get through half of this upcoming section, they're going to be in a really good spot, but Pez finds the miss, Fragrance of Page on a good recovery, and oh man, we saw this in the match yesterday as well. Hopefully we get to see Fragrance of Page play out this map, but we have seen misses from the entire lobby except for Taquito and Fragrance of Page. That should keep the lead in favor of the United States, but it's kind of a guessing game. It looks like Fragrance of Page has found a miss. The United States pretty far ahead, actually only 50,000 points. It is still anyone's game.
Yeah, but that combo on Taquito is massive for the USA right now. There goes Taquito, Caleb, Allegrisimo, and Fragrance of Page all trading those out very shortly. But Amamiya Kokoro also missing alongside 80 Nuggets once again. It's just Pez holding a little bit of combo on either side right now, and the score lead now up to 50K in favor of the United States. It's not much, but with only a quarter of the map left and combo only on Pez, it does favor the U.S. just a little bit. Another couple of breaks come through for Fragrance of Page. 80 Nuggets to follow, but that extra combo on Pez is going to keep the U.S. ahead here regardless of the traded break. So long as he holds, they should be able to take this as a break point on the first pick from South Korea. And there goes Amamiya Kokoro alongside Allegrisimo and Fragrance of Page just a little earlier. It's a three-way reset for South Korea near the end of the map here, and Pez still holding for the United States. And iFlame, the tech map last week in Nomad 4, the slider tech map last week in Nomad 4. United States was out ahead, and it looks like they're going to do the same thing here once again, this time directly against South Korea with a first pick breakpoint going the way of the United States on Nomad 4.
Yeah, like you said, it was 70K points last week, and turns out that's really all you need. US going to be incredibly happy with that breakpoint, but there really isn't a single free pick in this matchup. We'll see if the US do want to pick into speed. I do think they do have some good options in the hidden pool as well. You know, you look towards something like the hidden 2 feels incredibly coin flip, but that hidden 3, the hidden 3 was banned out as well. So hidden 2, a bit risky, and so I think the US are most likely going to look towards that DT pool. Something that South Korea did get top scores on last week, the DT 2 and 3, but when you look at the tournament holistically, the US do have the better speed roster still, and especially as the pools get harder, I think it's going to favor the US more and more. And you're generally very happy to get Fragrance of Page and Amamiya Kokoro out of the lobby as much as you can, and the only way to do that is speed.
the only way to do it realistically for the US. Yeah, if you want to get those two out of the lobby, you're gonna have to pick some speed here. That said, in terms of speed, what do you go for? Because DT2 is pretty accessible. DT3 is still a tech map. Yes, it's speed, but it is also tech at the same time, and AR 10.5 reading. Freemod 1 has a pretty huge aim component to it, and Nomad 2 is a little bit more stream focused, definitely. It feels like that one is kind of the most tapping focused map in the pool as kind of a percentage of what the focus is, but they're not even going to go for any speed, I claim. They're just going to go for Freemod 4 Zadamga by Onoken. This is an old Corsace map. I don't remember which iteration of Corsace or what year. It feels like 2021, I think, but
I think so, yeah.
it's been a while. Mapped by Down. This is, well, you listen to the song, you know what it is. It's a lot of finger control and a little bit of aim control in here as well. The problem with this map, though, is it's AR 8.9. It doesn't seem like it's super low approach rate, and 8.9 is not that bad, right? It's just under AR 9, but it's also 180 BPM rhythm tech, which is really, really, really hard on that extra low approach rate. Usually maps like this would be a lot higher approach rate, would be like AR 9.6, maybe like AR 9.3 or 4 at the lowest. So this being AR 8.9 makes it really, really tricky. And even during Corsace in 2021, a lot of teams struggled to put up really good scores on this. So I'm not going to expect huge scores from a lot of these players either, even several years later, just because this map can be so difficult to deal with in the density. It to the point, I think, where Hard Rock is favored on this map. Just straight up, Hard Rock is favored over Nomad and Hidden on this map.
Oh, absolutely. The rating is absolutely brutal, but the United States, they have the right player for the job, right? I don't think there's many players you'd rather have over Ethantrix on a map like this one. Easily one of the best hidden players in the game, and quite solid on these rhythmic maps as well. I think across the board, you expect to see fairly low accuracies on a map like this one. But I think both teams have showed good rating ability on this map, so I don't think the Hard Rock is going to be that much stronger than the Nomad, specifically for these two teams, because they have enough players that are capable of playing these slightly lower AR picks. And I think they're both going to be looking towards their Nomad players to put up the biggest scores, right? Fragrance of Page has been South Korea's best performer by far, all tournament long, second best player in this tournament. And Taquito, I mean, infamous for being one of the best tournament players. And I think you're going to look towards those two to put up the big scores. Good supporting scores from the Hard Rock players are what you want to see. And if we see any good combos from the Hidden players, we are going to be very, very impressed.
Well, certainly a solid Hidden player for the United States and Ethantrix. The same goes, though, for Amamiya Kokoro on the side of South Korea. Already a break from Amamiya Kokoro, matched by Taquito on the Nomad. There goes Fragrance of Page on the Nomad as well for South Korea. And it is the Hard Rock players holding the FCs, but there's an extra Hidden FC for the United States right now, and that is giving them most of this advantage. A couple of other misses coming through for both Amamiya Kokoro and Taquito on the Hidden and the Nomad, respectively. There goes Flamescare on the Hard Rock. Now it's 1-1 on the full combos. Ethantrix versus Allegrissimo, Hidden versus Hard Rock, and Hard Rock comes out on top for now. Ethantrix misses on the transition into these 1/3. Allegrissimo still holding on that Hard Rock for South Korea.
Fragrance of Page on a very good recovery as well, but Amamiya Kokoro is having a rough time down at 88% accuracy. This is going to slow the score advantage from the South Korea. This is an incredibly tough pattern, but everybody nailing it. And as long as Allegrissimo and Fragrance of Page can hold, these misses from Kokoro not going to matter. And Fragrance of Page does find a big miss. Now it's Allegrissimo trying to fend off these 3 recoveries from the US, but South Korea needs another miss. You don't want to go down by 3 this early on. Everybody hitting that aim control pattern as well. Flamesteer finds a big miss. That should be enough for it to go back over, but Allegrissimo drops, and the United States are going to be able to take a 3rd map in a row.
I mean, you can only do so much, right? You can only expect so much out of one man on a map like this. It is just a little bit too difficult for you to expect an FC, even with this pop-off 700k for Allegrissimo. It's 600k for Takedo on the Nomad by the end of the map. And the supporting scores there for the United States just better in both instances. Ethantrix at 480k almost, and Flamesteer just under 420k. And the real difference there is just, unfortunately, Amamiya Kokoro not having a good time with that map. Fragrance of Page up to snuff on the Nomad at 440k, and Allegrismo with a huge score on the Hard Rock, almost 700k for him. But just not enough on that lowest supporting score for Amamiya Kokoro. And the United States able to take full advantage, had the good support themselves, had Ethantrix who could go hidden and get that solid 480k for them. And that's the big difference maker on this map.
Yeah, I cannot stress enough how strong 480k on hidden is on a map like this one. My guess would be that that's going to be the top hidden score on the map by a decent margin. The 150k from Amamiya Kokoro is more what you'd expect to see from your average player in this tournament. And so if you have the Ethantrix who can put up 400k, it's going to be a really good pick for you. Now, despite being down by 3, South Korea have only given up 1 breakpoint, and especially as we get later into the match, because these two teams can play just about anything, we're going to see almost certainly more breakpoints. So as long as South Korea don't give up the second breakpoint, I think they're going to be in a pretty comfortable spot. Although, having lost that Nomad 4, they might be a little bit more hesitant to go back into tech. And so my guess is we'll see them switch it up and opt into flow aim control, that kind of thing. They have a ton of options open, but they're going to go into speed. And I mean, they did top score the 2 speed maps last week, DT2, DT3, but the United States have a good speed roster as well. For South Korea, we are going to be seeing almost certainly Fragrance of Page, Doomsday Fanboy, and Restia. So for the first time, seeing a bit of a different roster. But I mean, look at the United States. Pez, Takedo, and Flamesteer. I mean, you cannot count them out on a speed map.
Yeah, do also have players like AD Nuggets who can play the speed, especially if it's hidden. Ethantrix as well. Not necessarily a speed player, but absolutely has the skill cap to play stuff like this with hidden on. So there's, again, multiple choices for the United States on a map like this as well. And the same goes for South Korea, right? We could see Parisia come in for this. Hasn't played a ton of maps through the tournament, but something like this that does have a significant aim focus is something that Parisia can be very, very strong on. And it does look like he's going to be part of the roster here alongside Doomsday Fanboy and Fragrance of Page for South Korea. Looking like a Fragrance of Page hidden and probably Doomsday Fanboy Hard Rock with Parisia on the Nomad, if I had to guess, for the roster overall for South Korea. Flamesteer likely taking the Hard Rock for the United States, and then waiting on a hidden player, probably Takedo, and a Nomad player, probably Pez, for the last two to come in here on the side of the United States. And, you know, it seems weird to see South Korea picking speed into the United States, but you look at what has happened so far in this match, and it's been 3 gimmick picks in a row and 3 points in a row for the United States. No mod 4, the free mod 4 that we just saw, and the free mod 2 earlier on as the first pick for the United States. So it's been 2 tech maps and a rhythm map, and all of those have gone the way of the United States. So you have to change something up if you are South Korea, and I think the switch into mechanics is very well advised given the Hard Rock 1 ban for the United States. I was looking more at something like a no-mod 1, but this free mod 1 is still quite a bit of an aim map, and it does make the rosters change pretty significantly for both teams here, which I think is good if you are the team losing all of these same types of maps in a row, right? Something has to change.
Yep, and I really want to keep an eye on Doomsday Fanboy throughout this map. Had the only FC on last week's DT2, wasn't quite as speedy as this one, but an impressive performance nonetheless. Doomsday Fanboy going to be looking to do the same here, but does find the first miss. It is there's enough combo in this map. The early miss isn't going to matter. We're going to see a lot more misses as this one can be pretty stamina intensive, but the second miss comes out from South Korea, and they're very quickly falling behind on this map. We're already part of the way through. Pez does trade one back, and at the very least, South Korea do have Parisia holding strong, but trying to fend off Flamesteer and Takedo, South Korea are going to be falling farther and farther behind. You really can't afford to give up a second breakpoint in this match. It just puts you so far behind. Good recoveries now from South Korea, but at the halfway point, they're down by 120,000. They have to have a good ending, and Parisia misses before the slow section. That is devastation for South Korea.
Yeah, that is not what you want to see as South Korea here. Doomsday and Fanboy and Fragrance of Page are on the recoveries, but you have a 2-way FC on the United States here. Flamestare on the Hard Rock and Taquito on the Hidden, still going strong for the U.S. Pez on the recovery here, now outmatching Doomsday Fanboy's combo once again. And the accuracy for the U.S. reflects the game state as well. 99 for Pez, 99.5 on Taquito on the Hidden FC. Flamestar will finally drop that Hard Rock full combo, but it's just not going to matter because the FC is still going strong for Taquito, and the recovery for Pez is right on up there with Fragrance of Page on the Hidden. And another miss comes through for Doomsday Fanboy on the Nomad, and this map is just well and truly over. And iFlame, a switch up of the skill set, a switch up of the rosters, still not enough to bring South Korea the win here. 4-0 for the United States on a couple of tech maps, a rhythm reading map, and now a speed aim map as well.
Yeah, and that is a crazy score from Taquito. But Dio, South Korea, they do still have one skill set left that I feel should favor them in the aim control. The trouble now is that you've given up 2 break points, right? You can pick aim control the rest of the match, right? And let's assume, hypothetically, that South Korea win all the aim control picks, which is, to be clear, far from a guarantee. You still have to win 2 of the United States' own picks, and they don't need to pick aim control. They can pick aim, they can pick tech, they can pick speed, any of the skill sets that they've already beat you on. And so South Korea have a big mountain to climb here. 1 break point, not the end of the world. 2 break points, South Korea is not out of it, but it's going to take a couple of bad maps from the United States to bring this one back. And already up 4-0, you got to wonder about the mental from South Korea. And there are a lot of tournament veterans on that team. They've been at the top of tournaments for years now, but it is tough being down 5-4, giving up 2 early break points, and it becomes hard to be confident in your picks. We'll see what the United States opt into. They've won kind of 4 out of 4 skill sets that have been played, and it feels like they have a lot of options now. I think any pick that's not an aim control for the United States is going to look pretty good. Even that Hidden 2 especially is one I'd be looking at, but they have options.
I think you don't even need to pick the Hidden 2 here. I think you can just keep picking other stuff and leave it for a last pick to close things out cleanly. And just know for South Korea, if it ever gets to match point for the U.S., that next pick is probably the Hidden 2, and they are probably closing it out on that. So you need to find a way to stop this pain train from the U.S. before it gets to that point. And this Nomad 2, I mean, they're going into something similar to what we just saw on the Free Mod 1. A little bit more tapping focused, a little bit more stamina focused, some longer streams here as opposed to the bursts, a little bit less of an aim component on this map, but it's a very similar map, and I like this from the United States. Don't give South Korea the time to let those speed players recuperate and gain back their mental. Keep the pressure on. When you are winning one-sidedly, up 4-0 on multiple skill sets, put the pressure on and make it so that the other team does not have an avenue to victory. And that is what picks like this do. If you win this now, as the United States, South Korea says, okay, well, we're not picking the other DTs. We're not picking any of the other DT maps that are open, DT 1, 2, 3. We don't want to pick speed anymore. What do we do now? We have to pick something different, but what does the rest of the pool look like? Hard Rock 1's banned. A lot of the alt maps are probably not great, though we haven't seen a basic alt map yet, right? We've seen a lot of tech and rhythm and that kind of stuff, but we haven't seen basic alt, so maybe you go there, and maybe you go for something like Nomad 1. That's not a lot of the pool. That's like Nomad 3, Hard Rock 2, Nomad 1, and that's kind of it. Those are the only 3 maps that fit those descriptions, right? So if you win this as the United States, I think it really closes off a lot of confident picks that South Korea might have left in the pool. If they are going for Free Mod 1 and you win the Nomad 2 afterwards after taking a break point on that Free Mod 1, they don't want to pick speed, they don't want to pick the DTs, and it closes off so many other options for them. It keeps that pressure on and makes it so that remaining picks, especially later picks in this match, feel very tenuous and unconfident for South Korea. And this United States roster is a good one for accomplishing that goal. Flamestare, Pez, Taquito back in once again against the exact same 3 players from South Korea: Parisia, Fragrance of Page, and Doomsday Fanboy.
Absolutely. United States, big advantage in this match, but we've seen what South Korea can do on tapping last week. They are far from out of this map specifically. Doomsday Fanboy, player to keep an eye on. And on this map, the ending last quarter of the map, I'd say, is absolutely brutal. There are some incredibly difficult XL cell streams, and so it is more important than ever to get an advantage early on. If you fall behind in the first half of the map, it is so tough to make up that score advantage into the second half of the map. And I said that Taquito has found an early miss, but only 100 combo behind. That miss from Flames tier is going to be a lot more impactful. Down by 400 combo, as South Korea should take over the score advantage, but this map is incredibly dense, so much combo to be gained, and so United States, as long as they have two big combos, they're always going to be in this map. They just have to wait for the right moment, play steadily, and wait for South Korea to find those misses. But so far, South Korea still on 3 FCs, looking to get a break point back and give themselves a chance in this match as Parisia finds the first miss for South Korea.
Yeah, a lot of what I talked about before this map started is all predicated on the USA actually winning this pick. If they lose this pick, then there's a couple of decent options in the DT pool for South Korea, but Parisia with that miss does keep an avenue open for the USA, and now the score lead's starting to go back in their favor. The earlier misses for both Taquito and Flamestare, meaning they have combo advantage now despite the double FC for South Korea. Here we go into the next Ki time, these longer flow stamina streams coming through here at 225 BPM. You have to be solid on your stream stamina and now your awkward aim right afterwards, but nobody breaking so far. The back and forth jumps claiming nobody. The long streams claiming nobody. There goes Flamestare, actually does find a couple of misses on those back and forth jumps right before the next triple section. And now combo lead back towards South Korea. The double FC still going strong. Parisia on a good recovery combo. And that is now combo lead and score lead back the way of the Koreans in this map for the second time. How long can they hold both of those things, though? It's still a tenuous lead, but there goes Pez. That's the last FC down for the United States. It's just Taquito against this double FC. Parisia will match the break from Pez, so it's supporting combo down for South Korea, but FC down for the United States, and pretty much no supporting combo on their side. Taquito left alone on the reverse choke against this double FC from Fragrance of Page and Doomsday Fanboy. There goes Doomsday Fanboy. So now it's a lot more tenuous of a lead for South Korea, with Parisia not able to match the combo from Flamestare and less than a 50k score lead. This is still very much winnable for either of these teams. It is incredibly close into these flow 1/3, and there goes Taquito. He finally finds the break as well, and Fragrance of Page is holding on to the lone FC in the lobby for South Korea.
Fragrance of Page has been so dominant for South Korea, looking to do it again. Hits that pattern, the only player aside from Taquito to do so, and deal 1.8k combo is gonna be enough. The ending is incredibly tricky, but the United States, 130,000 points in the ending is almost impossible to make up. They're very quickly running out of time, and South Korea need a breakpoint now, and it looks like that's what they're gonna get. Now the question is, are we going to see a full combo out of Fragrance of Page? This is an incredibly difficult map. I don't think we've seen an FC so far, but into the by far hardest section, Fragrance of Page still holding strong.
Let's see, how long can he hold this full combo? Does he manage to clutch it out to the end? He's already clutched out the win for South Korea on this map, and this was a very necessary win for South Korea. You go down 5-0 in this match, and things are looking pretty grim. But 4-1, well, I hate to do it to them like this, but South Korea has seen 1-4 deficits against the USA before, and it hasn't seen them falter. So it's definitely still doable if they are down 1-4 against the United States. Now, mind you, not in this tournament, but it has been a topic of discussion, these 4-1 leads for the United States against South Korea. Awesome full combo from Fragrance of Page, and now we get the next pick for South Korea here. Haven't seen the pick work out for the Koreans so far, though, right? It's a break point for South Korea here, which is awesome, right? They do need that break point. They need to start coming back in this match somehow if they want to keep it close, maybe take it to tiebreaker, or maybe go into the top 2 in grand finals. But they haven't really found a pick strategy that works because, yes, they won the Nomad 2, but they still lost the Premod 1. So even those speedier DT picks are not guaranteed for South Korea here. And I think it's probably still well advised to look around the rest of the pool for something that might work. Maybe the Hard Rock 3 as a precision stream map, maybe some ult in the Hard Rock 2 or Nomad 3, maybe some aim in the Nomad 1, or if you feel like you really just want to keep those same players in and let them keep doing their thing, the DT2 or the DT1.
Yeah, the Hard Rock 3 is tempting because South Korea top scored last week's Hard Rock 3 by almost 1 million points. It was an incredible performance on the precision pick. This one, a lot more difficult, and so the question is whether your players can keep up with the skill cap of that map, and it takes some adjustment too, right? It's quite difficult going from a stream-focused map where you're not necessarily as worried about the aim to Hard Rock 3, a precision pick. Well, forget that. We got DT2, and this one is going to be a 237 BPM finger control. Does have quite a few fast streams, so I think pretty similar, at least in BPM, to the Nomad 2, but a lot more aim on this one. So something that I think you mentioned earlier, Dio, Restia is a player that could look quite good on especially, but we know the United States have the roster to put up good scores on these tapping-focused maps, and this map is far from a guarantee for South Korea. To me, it's very interesting that South Korea have opted, after 3 picks, not to go into the aim control. Going into this one, I would have expected that South Korea had a slight edge on most of the aim control maps, but it doesn't seem like they feel that way, as they've been avoiding that so far and go right back to tapping. And it's just going to be the same tapping rosters that we've seen previously for both teams.
Although we do have Zaizen Udongan here instead of Parisia for South Korea, so one swap there. And right now it's Ethan Tricks and 80 Nuggets in the lobby for the United States. And this is a very different type of DT2, right? This is not just your basic stamina long stream DT2. This is 237 BPM. The sheet says awkward tapping. It's a lot of stop and go patterns. It's a lot of sudden changes in stream velocity or burst velocity, if you want to call it that. It's actually a variable BPM map as well. This does slow down a little bit in the middle section of the song. And there's a lot of aim and aim control in this map. So this is a very multi-skill speed map, alongside it being CS5 and AR8 DT. So this is not your typical stamina DT2. This does a lot of very different things, and you often see this pooled as a reading pick or as a Hard Rock precision pick in lower rank range tournaments, especially 4-digit and rank 5K or so, some 5-digit tournaments as well. And for a good reason. At that lower BPM without DT, it tests a lot of the aim control, a lot of the low AR reading, a lot of finger control for those players. And there's still a little bit of those elements here on DT as well. So this is a very odd sort of map. We do have Taquito. We have 80 Nuggets in once again for the United States alongside Pez. Trying to take a breakpoint right back on this DT2 against Zaizen Udongan, Fragrance of Page, and Doomsday Fanboy. Zaizen Udongan, of course, Restia, the name change there.
Yeah, of course, South Korea going to be very happy with the breakpoint, but they are still down by 3, right? We've not seen them win one of their own picks yet. That needs to happen here. They can't just be giving breakpoints back, or they're just not going to have enough time to come back in this match. So this is a vital pick for South Korea, and it looks good for them early on as we see more misses coming out from the United States. As I say, it's a full reset for South Korea, so I may have spoken a little bit too soon, and now it's Pez running away with the only full combo left in the lobby. The United States on 2 recoveries following up Pez. South Korea, they now need US to find misses, and this is an incredibly short map. These early misses really matter quite a bit. Even down by 200 combo is going to add up. We see US down by 200,000 points nearly. 80 Nuggets finds a big miss, but that's going to be traded back by Doomsday Fanboy, a trade favoring South Korea, but it's not going to be enough on this own. We need to see more misses from the United States. Now at the halfway mark, can South Korea hold on to their combos? Another miss from 80 Nuggets. That one's not going to matter too much as long as Pez and Taquito can hold Fragrance of Page. That one really hurts for South Korea's. They might give the breakpoint right back. It's a full reset for South Korea, and Dio, United States may very well get the breakpoint here.
It looks pretty much guaranteed at this point, man. 500k advantage for the United States. full combo still alive on Pez with 97 accuracy. 99 ac for Taquito on this reverse choke. Finally, Pez goes down, but Taquito is right there to pick up the mantle for the United States and keep the score lead going in their favor. Now 700k in favor of the US over South Korea on this DT2, and this pick has spectacularly backfired for South Korea. Another breakpoint right over the way of the United States, and a trade of breakpoints on these two speed picks, the Nomad 2 and the DT2. Not going to benefit South Korea the way they would have wanted, and the USA now up 5-1 in this match. And again, everything looking risky for South Korea, but the United States with a lot of room for error, up 4 points, up 2 breakpoints against South Korea here, with the pool rapidly thinning. Nomad 1, Nomad 3, Nomad 5, Hidden 2, Hard Rock 2, Hard Rock 3, DT1, DT3, and the Freemod 3 left available. Lots of banned maps, lots of already picked maps so far in this pool. And I think if you're the United States, what you stay away from is the pure alt picks in the Nomad 3 and the Hard Rock 2. You stay away from the pure aim picks in the Nomad 1 and the DT1. And you go into basically anything else. Nomad 5, Hidden 2, Hard Rock 3, Freemod 3, DT3, all available, I think, as decent picks for the USA right now.
Yeah, actually the DT1 wouldn't be the worst pick for the United States, despite it being a pure aim map, but it's AR 10.5, and I think the United States have quite a solid roster for that between Flamesteer, Pez, and Taquito. However, South Korea, not really known for their high AR. Yes, you do have Restia, Doomsday Fanboy, and Freeshow that are all strong field players on speed tapping DT maps, but the AR 10.5, it's a whole nother beast, something not a lot of players actively practice, and it comes out the DT1 pick. I'm a big fan of this one for the United States, and I feel South Korea could have a little bit of trouble on this one. I mean, the 10.5 AR is kind of the only notable thing about this map. Otherwise, it's your stock standard GTA map.
Actually less hot on this pick for the US
Fair enough.
Than a lot of other picks in the pool. I feel like against a team like South Korea that has a lot of players who are very solid on aim in general, avoiding these pure aim picks is probably a solid strategy into them. South Korea, yeah, didn't have as good of a DT1 in qualifiers, but still had a very solid team score on it. And I'm less sold on this pick than I am on some of the other ones for the United States. But to be honest, a lot of this match has gone the way of the US, and it feels like they are probably just feeling confident on a lot of different things. They do still have a good roster for this map as well. They were the #1 team on DT1 in qualifiers, so it's not like this pick is out of left field for the United States, and I think they should still have a very good time on this map overall. Flamesteer and Pez in right now. Likely to see Taquito on this map. I think likely to see Pez come back in for them on this map as 80 Nuggets, Ethan Tricks, Bashiman likely not to be players we see on this. Maybe 80 Nuggets, but I think is less solid. Maybe he will come in. I was going to say less solid on the super high AR picks in tournament, but definitely can play them in solo a lot. But yeah, there's Taquito coming in.
Yep, and I think the United States know that South Korea fanned out the high AR DT pick last week as well in their match, so some added incentive there for the United States to opt into this one. And it's going to take a pretty good performance from South Korea to take this one off the United States, but if they want the comeback to happen, it has to happen now. You cannot go forward to go down 6-1, especially because the United States is going to have so many picks. Honestly, they still have some pretty good picks left open, and it all comes down to Parisia, Doomsday Fansboy, and Fragrance of Page. Can they get a break point here, keep South Korea's hopes in the winner's bracket alive, or can Pez, Flamesteer, and Taquito put the United States on match point? This is a decently long map, and there's a lot of combo to be gained here, so there is plenty of time for these players to build up combo, and the early misses aren't going to be the end of the world as we see one come out from Flamesteer. I think the map is one of those maps that you can see relatively high combos on, and so a single player putting up a big combo can carry this one, and I think you want to keep an eye on players like Taquito, like Pez, and even like Doomsday Fanboy.
so far so good for both of these teams, honestly. Slight ACK advantage for the United States, keeping them ahead, but there goes Taquito, does find a miss, drops the double S, drops the FC at once. And now combo lead pretty squarely in favor of South Korea. That score lead going to start to go their way, but it's not a solid hold for them here. Pez still on the FC, Flamestare on the recovery combo, and the accuracy for Taquito keeping his score very, very high on this map, but still better for South Korea with that three-way FC intact. How long can they hold it, though? A couple of overaims on that stream, but nobody finding the break for either team on that pattern, and so still just the slight combo lead, still the score lead increasing in favor of South Korea, now up over 150k. It's looking better and better for them now halfway through into the map, and any misses at this point are going to spell disaster for whoever finds them, whether that's the United States or South Korea. It still very easily could go back the way of the US. Even with a 200,000 score lead for South Korea, they are not out of the woods yet. There goes Flames, though, and that is a huge break for the United States. That's a big recovery combo down. Parisia will trade it for South Korea. You'd rather see that trade if you are the United States. Full combo for recovery is always going to favor you, but combo lead is still in favor of South Korea, and at this point with a 300,000 score lead in their favor, I don't think there's enough time left in the map for the United States to take this back, and South Korea, Fragrance of Page and Doomsday Fanboy holding onto these FCs into the end of the map are going to secure it for South Korea, and we see 3 breakpoints in a row, with South Korea taking 2 of them.
You were right to question the DT1 pick from the United States. Doesn't pay off, doesn't get them to match point, as this is an incredible team score from South Korea. They're going to get to 3 million on a finals map. I mean, the United States, 2.7 million, not too far behind. This is why these are the 2 teams in winners finals. This is why these were the 2 favorites by far coming into this tournament. But as you just mentioned, 3 breakpoints in a row. South Korea need to break that trend. They really can't afford to give up another breakpoint. They've brought themselves back within reasonable range of making a comeback in this match, in the sense that they, again, only need 1 more breakpoint off the United States, assuming they can figure out how to win their own picks, which, after 3 picks, they have not done thus far. In terms of potential next picks, again, they went back to tapping after the Nomad 2. Didn't work out for them. They've not touched alt, they've not touched flow aim. That, in my head, is the next direction for them. That seems to be the clear choice, but I mean, they've been avoiding it so far, so maybe less comfortable than you would be led to expect. Nomad 3, it is time, Dio. We finally get to see South Korea on this alt, on this aim control, and we'll see if they can get this one over the United States. Now, this map has a decent amount of mirror control as well, but of course aim control is going to be the primary test. There is a pretty tricky slider section about 3/4 of the way through the map to watch out for, but by then, if you've built up a solid score lead, it's not going to be the end of the world if you find a drop there. This is a pretty tricky map to build up combos on as well, so we're not going to see scores nearly as high as we did on the DT1, and that means it's likely to be less about individual players and more about that team score, unless we see one player absolutely pop off.
A couple of things to mention. Shout out as well Pez for the FC on that last map on DT1. Solid score from him. And a couple of things to mention about this map as well. As you said, tons of aim control, a little bit of finger control, a lot of flow aim, a little bit of snap aim. This song, though, is an original song by Zengis for the 3-Digit World Cup 2025. So massive thanks to Zengis for producing this song for us. Thanks as well to Nuge for mapping this song for 3WC. It's gonna be a solid one. 160 BPM alt at over 7 stars is always a little bit tricky. So we'll see how this one goes, and we finally get to see the main 3 players for this South Korea roster, Amamiya Kokoro, Alagrissimo, and Fragrance of Page, in on their main skill set, alt aim control. And this is what strikes fear into the heart of man in this tournament, is seeing these 3 players on the other side and a Nomad 3 pick come out in the chat.
Yeah. Players to keep an eye on for this map: Fragrance of Page, Ethan Tricks V2 for both teams. Fragrance of Page, top performer on last week's Nomad 3, the only player to get an FC on the map, right there in second. only miss in the ending, about 50,000 points behind, was Ethan Trick. So this one could go either way. Both teams have players that are capable of putting up the big carry performances, but generally, South Korea feels like they have the stronger overall team capabilities on these alt favorite picks. You look at Allegrissimo as one of the stronger alt players in this lobby, but you can't really count the United States out on any pick. They were the second best team on alts last weekend, and of course, only behind South Korea, and they weren't behind by a lot. South Korea cannot afford to give up another breakpoint. They need to get this point here, and they need to get the momentum back in their favor. This is an absurdly difficult map, one of the harder maps in the pool for sure, and it is going to be 80 Nuggets finding the first miss as South Korea looking good to start this one off, but this map only gets harder as the map goes on. It is not very long, only 2 minutes and 24 seconds, so any miss at this point is going to matter a fair bit.
And another couple of breaks come through for Taquito on the side of the United States. Still the three-way full combo intact for South Korea, but this map you can just miss anywhere. There's no real breaks in this. There's no dips in the action in this song, and so all of these patterns are so easy to miss on. Another couple of breaks come through for both 80 Nuggets and Fragrance of Page alongside Taquito. 2 breaks to 1 though in favor of South Korea. USA with those 2 drops, but there's a slider break for Allegrissimo. It is matched by 80 Nuggets. It's now those 2 players we talked about right at the start of the map, Ethan Tricks and Amamiya Kokoro, holding onto the FC, but there goes Ethan Tricks, misses on the linear downward stream right before the break, halfway into the map. It's Amamiya Kokoro left alone in the lobby with the FC for South Korea, and a 200,000 score lead buffer in their favor as well. Room for error for this South Korean team going into the second half of the map. Not that they need it at the moment with that FC from Amamiya Kokoro still going strong.
Yeah, and this second half of the map is a lot more slider heavy. It is so incredibly difficult. The United States, with 250,000 points to recover, are going to have a tough time, but they are ready. That is going to be a big miss from 80 Nuggets. Taquito is on a very impressive recovery combo, approaching the 500 mark, but as long as we don't see Amamiya Kokoro finding the miss, it's just not going to be enough. And now up by 300,000, South Korea, for the first time this match, are going to find a point on their own pick, and this is what they needed to start the comeback, to bring themselves back here. And it is going to be 5-3. They are still down a breakpoint, but their hopes in this match are very much alive, especially if they can get the next point off of the US. As what a performance from Amamiya Kokoro, 800,000 points in this map, beating the second best player, Taquito, by 300,000. As man, anybody on either of these rosters can step up on any given map, and that is what is so fun about this match.
Amamiya Kokoro without shakes would be the best player in the game. Thoughts?
Oh, 100%. Without doubt.
I think without shakes, he would be the best tournament player in the game. Doing this kind of score with the shakes that we saw from him at the end of that map is actually ridiculous. As is just barely hitting every note, but somehow still pulling it off. With that 830k, that is an absolutely ridiculous score from Amamiya Kokoro, and a great team score for South Korea. And that's the power of these 3 players, right? If even one of them finds the pop off, it's often enough to win, because these alt aim control maps in these pools are often pretty difficult, and that goes not just for the 3-digit World Cup, but for OWC and for a lot of other tournaments around the world right now. A lot of aim control maps are quite difficult for a lot of players, and South Korea having a leg up in that regard, I think, is a very solid strategic advantage for them. And now that opens up, finally, I think, a bit more of a game plan for South Korea here. Pick into the Hard Rock 2, pick into the Nomad 1, pick into these maps where you're focused mostly on aim, whether it's the aim control or the raw jump aim, because that is where you have thrived and found your wins so far in this match. On the Fremod 1, sorry, not on the Fremod 1, on the DT 1, and on the Nomad 3, those were the more convincing wins that we saw out of South Korea, especially with no more speed being left in the pool. The Nomad 2 win just doesn't mean anything at this point, so look toward those similar maps that are left in the pool, and maybe clutch it out with a Fremod 3 near the end if you need to.
Yeah, but Dio, no Mod 5. This one is an absolute banger, but is it ever a risky pick? No more speed left in the pool, and United States forced to change things up, and I think at this point, every pick left for the United States is a lot more coin flippy than those tapping picks. This one, CS5, AR 8.2, it's going to be overlap aim. South Korea have looked good on the aim so far, and really good on the reading. In fact, they had the top score last week on the reading map, but you can never count the United States out on a pick like this. Obviously, it's their own pick, and you have Ethan Tricks, and it feels like a bit of a cheat code on any rating map. He's so insanely good at any low AR map, and I think, yes, South Korea finally has some directionality, but they are still on the back foot. They have 2 chances left to get a breakpoint off the United States, but I do think this is a really good opportunity for them. They're going to have Restia in, Amamiya Kokoro, and the last player, generally, we do expect that to be Fragrance of Cage, but could be Allegrissimo as well, as we see, of course, Caleb or 80 Nuggets slide into the roster. Pez is a little bit more surprising, as I'm quite surprised we're not seeing Ethan Tricks, but evidently, United States feel comfortable enough on this map with his 3, yeah.
Yeah, a little surprised to not see Ethan Tricks or Taquito for the United States on this map. But it is Nomad reading after all.
It is.
So some players are just more comfortable on Nomad reading. Even if you're not a super comfortable low AR hidden player, Nomad reading sometimes very, very solid for certain players who just don't deal with low AR hidden very well. And now we have our rosters locked in here. I'm going to Kokoro, Fragrance Page, Allegrissimo for South Korea, Boshiman, Pez, and Taquito for the United States. This map, man, it is... yeah, it's Nomad reading. Yeah, it's different from low AR hidden, but this is a structural reading map that is really, really tough. And iFlame, there's a certain advantage that the United States might have on this map, because the mapper is Boshiman. Team Exodus.
Small advantage.
Yeah, so there's a lot of mappers who are not very good at the things that they map, but this instance is not one of those cases, right? Boshiman is a very, very good low AR reading and precision player, and this map that combines both of those at CS5 and AR 8.2 with a lot of overlapping structural reading elements is definitely something where that extra practice from playtesting the map in production can sometimes pay off. So we'll see if that helps out here for the United States as we get into this one. Originally the Grand Finals Nomad 7 for Mediterranean Draft Cup, now repurposed here for the 3-digit World Cup Finals. As both the games looking pretty good on this so far. A couple of more early misses for South Korea as the USA on that 3-way full combo still looking good, but the recoveries are good for South Korea until suddenly on the reversing stream they are not anymore. Fragrance Page and Allegrissimo both finding another couple of breaks alongside Pez there, but Taquito and Bashi still holding the full combos for the United States here.
Yeah, Amamiya Kokoro desperately needs to hold for South Korea, but those are some very scary shakes, especially on these patterns. It is so easy to shake off the note. Taquito does find a big miss, but Amamiya Kokoro trades it right back. The United States are going to be happy with that trade, as now Boshiman, the mapper here, is going to be able to run away with this one. There's a very tricky stream coming up, but Boshiman absolutely nails it, and the United States up by 200,000, so this may not be the breakpoint that South Korea needs, but they're not out of it yet. They do need some big recovery combos. They need more misses to come out from the United States, especially Boshiman, but they're not technically out of it, and it really feels like the United States has just put in their aim roster, right? They're not so worried about the rating. They've said, our aim players can read this map, no problem whatsoever, and it's working out for them so far. Boshiman on 99% accuracy. Amamiya Kokoro, the only other one to match that accuracy, but far behind on combo, and South Korea are just so far down that with a quarter of the map to go, it's not a dense enough map to get enough combo to kind of overcome this score lead, and it looks like the United States are going to be on match point.
Let's see if Bachi can clutch out the FC. At this point, nothing else really matters, and he breaks instantly. Okay.
That's on you, Dio.
Yeah, my bad. My bad. Well, not going to be clutching out the FC, but Pez has 750 combo. Okay, never mind. Why speak? Fragrance of Page also has 800 combo right now, and he's still going strong. Has a really good recovery here for South Korea,
dear.
and there he goes. Oh,
gonna need you to.
You love it when a
talk
plan comes to fruition.
Of course. So, in order to get to tiebreaker, Dio, we're gonna have you only commentate for the USA players the rest of this match. I'll handle South Korea, and maybe we can still get a close match on our hands. But United States, of course, we got a pretty decisive win. Honestly, 200,000 is a really solid lead on a map like this one, and South Korea have the pick, but they're gonna only have one last chance to find a breakpoint off of the United States, and they have to make every pick count. They've won one of their own picks, gotten 2 breakpoints, and they're going to have to win all the rest of their picks. At the very least, they looked really good on alts, on flow aim. They have some direction in terms of pick strategy, and because they avoided alt aim control in the start, there's actually a fair bit left in this pool. The hidden 2 is kind of tech flow aim, obviously very scary into the United States, who have been the strongest hidden team so far, but I do think the skill set generally is good for South Korea. Then you can look into that Hard Rock 2, which is a pretty generic Hard Rock alt map, very comfortable alt pattern. Other than that, if you look towards anti-mod, the free mod, you still have that free mod 3, which is anti-mod flow aim. So 3 good options for South Korea. I would be shocked to see them stray away from the flow aim after what we've seen so far, but we'll take a moment to decide on this next pick.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Hard Rock 2 in the Nomad 1. I feel like if we're picking anything as South Korea right now, it's okay. DT3 apparently.
Oh, okay. This pack.
I'm not sure how I feel about this one.
I'm with
South
you.
Korea has picked now 3 speed maps in Fremod 1, DT2, and DT3. I mean, calling them all speed maps is, for some people, a bit of a stretch, right? There's a very heavy aim requirement on the Fremod 1. There's a bit of a reading requirement and a finger control and aim requirement on the DT2, and there's a pretty heavy tech and reading requirement on this one, especially a lot of finger control at this higher BPM, 263 BPM. For this one with the finger control. But these kind of multi-skill maps on DT with high approach rate are really tough to call before they start. And the reason for that is that there's a lot of players on both of these teams that are very good all-rounders, that have the reading to play this, that have the speed to deal with this, that have the high AR and high BPM and finger control to play something like this. And so all of those all-rounders can all do really well on this, and that describes a lot of people on both of these teams. Fragrance of Page for South Korea, definitely the one that comes to mind. Taquito, Pez for the United States, definitely the 2 that come to mind there. And there's a few really solid people for this map on both sides.
I've just done a little bit of research here, and that research is the global leaderboards on this map. And Fragrance of Page currently has the only FC on this map. I believe that's an FC at least. 1.6k combo, and the second best combo on the map is 900. So Fragrance of Page, certainly the player to watch out for. That was a score set 3 days ago. So Fragrance of Page absolutely has the potential to solo carry this map, and I think that's what South Korea are betting on here. And I think it's safe to expect the United States have very good Air 10.5 tech players, but I generally wouldn't expect an FC from anybody on this map if I hadn't already seen Fragrance of Page with an FC on the global leaderboards.
Well, we'll see if that FC on the global leaderboards ends up mattering here, because it's going to have to for South Korea. Just because you have an FC on the global leaderboards doesn't mean that you're necessarily better in match on a map, though it definitely does help. Definitely can help the confidence there for some players, and we've seen South Korea use that strategy a lot of times against the United States in OWC, most recently, with a lot of their players putting up FCs on maps that have very few of them that are put in the map pool and happen to have leaderboards before the match even starts. So let's see if it pays off here once again. Maybe that extra practice grinding out the DTFC for Fragrance of Page will do wonders for them. Doomsday Fanboy and Amamiya Kokoro to accompany for South Korea. Taquito Flametear and Pez for the United States on this one. And a couple of early slider breaks on the miss aims for Taquito and Doomsday Fanboy. Note that with the finger control and the slider aim in this map, we'll probably see quite a few Bancho misses. There goes Flamestare and Amamiya Kokoro, though. And now it's already just Fragrance of Page and Pez holding for both of these teams, but better accuracy for the United States. 95 AC on both Fragrance of Page and Doomsday Fanboy means this FC for Pez with 98 is going to be counting for just a lot more for the US, and the support goes there as well. But there goes Pez. That's the FC gone now. Halfway into the map, right before the slow section, Pez finds the drop, and the United States now down all their FCs against Fragrance of Page, who has come up big for South Korea.
Yeah, looking to replicate that FC on the global leaderboards. This map does not get any easier. This second half is absolutely brutal. If Fragrance of Page can hold on through even half of it, it's very likely to be a win for South Korea, but we could very easily see a miss at the start of this next section. It is a miss for Amamiya Kokoro. This support could matter as well. Taquito and Flamesteer both on really big combos. And into the ending, is Fragrance of Page going to find a miss? Nails those plus side. This ending is absolutely brutal. It all comes down to this. South Korea desperately needs this point, and Fragrance of Page nails the buzz sliders. Taquito finds the miss. Flamesteer is not going to be able to fend off Page and Doomsday Fanboy alone, and South Korea take the DT3 pick. They have won both the AR 10.5 maps, and they are keeping their chances alive now. Have to win on the United States picks. This Fragrance of Page, what a performance. Doing it not only on the global leaderboards in practice, but doing it live in match is crazy.
Actually does replicate that FC in match for Fragrance of Page. First and second DTFC on the map for Fragrance of Page here.
And honestly, score of the tournament.
That is an absolutely ridiculous score for Fragrance of Page. A lot of solid scores for very many other players in this match. Taquito with the S rank for the United States. Doomsday Fanboy with another S rank for South Korea. But it's the FC that comes up big for the Koreans. Now 4-6 in the United States. Last pick. They don't go for the hidden 2. And instead, they go for that last remaining free mod, the free mod 3. They have won every other free mod so far, the free mod 1, 2, and 4. And they're going to try and sweep the category here against South Korea with G-Free by Zune. Second half-slashed map in the pool, and another Toho pick in the pool as well. CS5 AR8, 160 BPM. Gimmicky Axel D-Cell aim control streams here with a pretty heavy reading element on hidden and a very, very tough precision flow element on the Hard Rock.
Yeah.
And this map, maybe we'll see some easy on this. This is one of those maps where you could reasonably see an easy for one of these teams.
Yeah, it would be kind of the only free mod map you could potentially go easy on, but because this map is so tough in terms of aim control, I think it's a lot less likely we see easy on this one than previous week's anti-mod free mods. And I think, like in the last match, there are some Mahmood and Listia, actually yesterday's match. Both of those players who took easy on, I think, free mods in both weeks beforehand, opted not to on this one. South Korea don't really have any players that want to play the easy for US. We've seen it from Ethan Trix and Taquito, but I do expect it to be a lot more standard here. This is, I think, maybe if it was an aim-focused map or a stream-focused anti-mod, you'd see the easy, but unlike this time around, thankfully for the US, they have Bashi in, unlike last week, and that is going to be massive for them. Bashi, man, is so incredibly good at this anti-mod, can play rating insanely well, can play precision incredibly well. And I do expect Bashman to be on the no-mod here, which will feel really good for the United States. Is going to be able to put up a really big score, but South Korea have good chances on this run, right? They have, I mean, you generally expect them to be a slightly better team on aim control, on
no, what was that, iFlame? No easy? No easy, you said?
Stand corrected. We've got 3 of them. All right. Don't mind. I didn't say anything. Delete the VOD. Delete the VOD, as we've got Kokoro, Bashi, Ethan Trix, all on the easies. Fragrance of Page opting for no mod. And then Flamesteer and Ali Grissimo are going to be battling it out on the Hard Rock. I mean, these are the only 2 teams that would dare to go easy on a map like this one, Alegrissimo is going to find the first miss of the map. This is a pretty lengthy one at just under 4 minutes, so there's a lot of time to build up combo and plenty of time for a single player to put up solo carry performances. These easy multipliers are already factored into the score, so you don't have to worry about any extra calculations. What you see on the screen is what you get at the end of the map. And this map is actually relatively consistent in terms of difficulty. Of course, it does have its difficulty spikes, but it's all going to be about who has a consistency and about really not finding the misses in the middle of the map, the worst place you can miss. And after Alegrissimo found that early miss, has found a nice recovery, and we've yet to see any misses since then. So it's just a waiting game to see which team is going to find the next mix. And we're far enough into the map now. The next mix will be devastating. It comes out for Flames tier on the Hard Rock. The United States still hold their 2 easy full combos, but that score is going to go back over to South Korea, and it's going to be an accuracy advantage for South Korea as well, with Flames tier dropping just under 97, but not going to be the end of the world, as we've got 2/3 of the map left to go, and United States, despite being down on combo, have plenty of time to bring this one back.
Underrated advantage for South Korea. Amamiya Kokoro on easy doesn't have to worry about shaking.
True.
This is huge. This could potentially be huge for South Korea, as Amamiya Kokoro, I already see a little bit of shakes here near the end of the map, but I think he's going to be just fine as we get here into the ending. Fragrance of Page still on the FC alongside him. Alegrissimo, no, there goes Fragrance of Page. That's the Nomad down for South Korea. It's the double FC on the easies for the United States versus the 1 FC on Amamiya Kokoro, and reverse choke for Alegrissimo on the Hard Rock. But there goes Ethan Trix, does also find that drop halfway through on the easy for the United States. Bashiman now matching Amamiya Kokoro, both on the easy FC, but Alegrissimo on better combo than Flames Terror on the Hard Rock. But there goes Amamiya and Fragrance of Page once again for South Korea. Flames Terror will find the drop on the Hard Rock, so it is now Alegrissimo versus Bashiman, and that Hard Rock, even on the reverse choke, is worth more than the easy FC on paper. But there's the drop from Alegrissimo, and I was gonna say it's just so much more difficult to hold that combo for a long time on the Hard Rock, and now South Korea dependent on misses from the United States. Bashiman with control of the match in his hands. Destiny awaits him, and whether he can finish out this FC now, whether he can bring the score back to the United States, and whether he will knock South Korea down into the losers bracket.
Ethan Trix on a big recovery as well. Fragrance of Page, really the only combo on South Korea, and into the break. South Korea likely know that it is out of their control. Is 50,000 points for the United States. South Korea are not out of this one yet, but it needs to be a Bosch miss from Bashiman pretty much in the next 5 to 10 seconds, and South Korea looks like are going to be dropping this one after 2 years of South Korea taking down the USA in the winners finals. The United States will get their revenge off of an incredibly impressive play from Bashiman. The United States will be moving on to the grand finals. They've secured themselves a top 2, and they take down the 2-time reigning champions 7-4.
And will he do it? Will he close it out with the FC? Looks pretty likely here for Bashiman. There he goes. Full combo on the easy to win the match 7-4 in favor of the United States and knock South Korea down into the losers bracket. And yeah, it looked good for South Korea. Finally, they had an avenue towards victory. Finally, they had some other maps to pick in this match. But the United States, they had the final say there, up match point 6-4 with their own last pick to close it out cleanly. Avoid any chance of a tiebreaker, avoid giving South Korea access to their own final pick, and win for the first time in very many years the winners finals in 3-digit World Cup, securing top 2 and the winners bracket side of grand finals.
Yeah, and it was top match cause for Fragrance of Page, but this is a team game, and the United States having the stronger team performance are going to take that one. And before we look at the upcoming matches for the rest of the weekend, I do want to remind everyone that if you want to support the tournament, you can get yourselves banners, and all funds go directly to the prize pool. You can support the players, and you get a cool banner on your profile showing support for your team of choice. Shout out to Wooding as well, 3WC sponsor. If you want to play like these guys, get yourself a Wooding keyboard and you'll be very speedy. Our upcoming matches, though, we have got 14 UTC tomorrow is going to be the next match between, between Germany and Philippines. Should be an incredibly good one. And then we have got, actually, I think that's going to be it. Germany versus Philippines. 14 UTC to decide which of those teams are going to make top 3 to face off against South Korea in the losers bracket grand finals.
And that will be it for us for now. Congratulations once again to the United States. Their first time in the winners finals since... When was the last time we saw the United States in the winners finals? Would have been in 2021.
Yeah, their last win.
Their last... actually, no, not even their last win in 2021. They lost winners finals in 2021. But the last time they won winners finals in this tournament was 2020 against Taiwan. It was so long ago that Taiwan was a top competitor in 3-digit World Cup. It has been a little while since we've seen Taiwan have a very solid team for 3WC, especially at this level in the finals weekend, being a top 3 team. So it's been a while for the USA as well, since they have found a win in those winners finals, and finally doing it against South Korea, who have been the bane of their existence for a little while here. The United States finally make it back into the top 2, secure that winners bracket advantage for grand finals, and make South Korea work their way up through the losers bracket grand finals. Their competition, as you said, iFlame, decided later today, 14 UTC between Germany and the Philippines. Good luck to both of those teams. Good luck to South Korea in the losers bracket. Thank you to iFlame for casting alongside me. Thank you to Rob for the stream, and to Freddy for reffing this match. We'll see you all back here in about a little less than 9 hours for Germany versus the Philippines. Catch you then.
14 UTC, don't miss it.